There we go. Well, welcome everyone to the May 20th meeting of the MLP Board and Broadband Committee. I'm Gail Huntress, MLP Manager, facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating also remotely, we have MLP board members Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, Steve Schmidt, and community member Craig Martin. Um, and Craig, did I hear that you're calling in from the beach somewhere?
Well, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm not
Oh, okay.
at the beach right now. I'm at my in-laws' house. So,
Oh, nice. Um, all right, so as usual, our first order of business is to approve the previous meeting minutes as amended by Jim from April 15th. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And a
Second.
second? Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. And all in favor of approval? Steve
Aye.
and Jim
Aye.
and Graham.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Hut report.
Yeah, everything seemed in order there today. I checked, and the update on uh, so I can't hear. I should change the mode. Can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm not
We can hear
hearing
you
myself.
fine.
Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, I won't yell then. So yeah, the HVAC, the north one is, even though it was suspect of a leak, it's doing just fine.
Holding.
And
Okay.
yeah, so the north one has got the lead. And just in case, because we know it's got a slow leak, or that's what we were told, that the south one is in the backup mode, which is set to cool at 75 degrees inside the hut, and that has not it hasn't had to do that at this point. So the north unit is holding fine. If it's leaking so slowly it's not mattering yet. So
Great. And the south unit is not turned itself off.
it has not turned itself off. No,
Okay.
when it's just in cooling mode, it doesn't turn itself off. So that's good news too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right.
Yeah, there's more. I don't know about other people's houses, but we've had double the number of ladybugs in our house this season.
Ah,
Yep, this okay. So I suspect, yeah, obviously the reason you were evacuated to California, probably because of that.
oh yeah,
But
sure.
yeah, but we've had probably double, and in the hut, I notice also there's like dead bodies, 3 times as many as normal. I sweep the floor and I do the autopsy report, and there's probably 40 dead ladybugs on the floor in the hut this month, and that's more than usual. Hoping next season will be back to normal, which would be 20 dead
Yeah.
on the floor. They don't survive there, so they don't fly around. Obviously, there's a few little gaps on the outside, and ladybugs are good at gaps. So nothing else to report about the hut. Everything else seemed good.
Great. All right. Let's see. Our service tickets is a pretty before talk about that, wanted to talk about Graham, thank you for the hut responsibility list. I have cleaned it up and sent it off to our newly elected board member for Andy Regan and asked if he would have interest in taking on that role. So I'm waiting to hear back from him about that. And let's see, the maintenance report is that we had a pretty normal month with 29 tickets. 5 of those tickets were generated by just one call. One of our customers had an outage reported, and then there's just a lot of back and forth because it was one of these instances where a call needed to go out, but when the internet is out and the person doesn't have any cell service, it turns into a game of telephone of they have to drive out into the world and get service. And like, well, we can't get a hold of the technician. Like, you need to call back later. So every time there's one of those communications, it generates a ticket. Um, and we've had conversations about this before, and it's just the nature of the lack of cell service up here and what happens when our customers can't communicate out. We could set up like a texting service, but it would cost a lot more because Integrity doesn't do that. Like, we could find somebody to do text-based communications. But
But
anyway.
I
but if
remember,
the fiber is down, yeah, they can't do anything.
Oh, correct. Although a lot of people have like just one bar of cell service, they can't make a
Oh,
call,
I
but
see.
they can
Sorry,
squeeze it. Yeah, they can squeeze a text out. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't
we
clear on
I
that.
cannot. So yeah,
Yeah,
got it.
okay.
we
Yeah.
had looked into this before, I think, and
Hmm.
found that it was not available. The texting essentially wasn't available or wasn't feasible.
Yeah, not yes, yes. If you spend enough money, you can do anything. But
Right.
for that level of customer interface, it's not going to work.
Gail,
The customers,
how many
Sorry,
yeah, you
service
go.
yes, Jim, go
Go.
first.
how many service tickets did you say there were? I missed that.
Yeah, 29.
29 service.
29, but I was just saying that five of those were just the same customer trying to get something solved when there was so much back and forth. Yep. Graham, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, was the customers so was their fiber out? Had they lost their ONT? What happened? Do you know?
I do. I looked into the tickets, and it was an outage that resolved itself. So it didn't, in the end of it, it didn't even require a technician to go out. I didn't even remember this because I can't remember anything these days, but I had a back and forth with this customer when she reported it. And I authorized the Beyond the Router service support because it went out just mysteriously for like a day and a half. They didn't, the power was on, they didn't know what happened. So a technician went out and just made sure everything was set up correctly. Nothing was amiss there.
And they found nothing amiss, eh?
They didn't.
Uh,
Yeah. It made the customer feel
uh,
better though to know that everything was checked out, and we'll just keep an eye on it if it happens again. Do more diagnostics, but yeah. Um All right, financials. We're still looking good. Our balance right now is just under 150,000. That does not include the debt service, which will be coming out any day now. Um, I took a little bit of time to look into where we stand with the FCC communications rules because I've just been sitting on our new router project, kind of waiting to see what happens. As it stands today, Netgear, Adtran, Eero from Amazon, are the only manufacturers. Oh, and Calyx actually has a model too, that have been conditionally approved for sale in the US. So that leaves out the TP-Link and ASUS models that we were also considering. Um, I didn't really, the Adtran ones weren't really on my radar. Does anybody know anything about them? I just did a very rudimentary lookup of them today, and it looks like they are they're not really residential routers in the traditional sense that anyone can go out and buy them, but they are ISP provided equipment. Um, does anyone know anything about them? I just nothing. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to look into those a little bit more, um, and see if that might be an option. I'm thinking that I'm just going to sit on this one more month, and see if we can get, or not we can get, but see if TP-Link and ASUS comes through as being cleared manufacturers. I mean, they've got to, right? Or else they're just going to lose all their business. Um, but I am just worried about going forward with any model that isn't cleared, buying all of them and then them, installing something that's not cleared in our customers' houses. So um, we do have until the end of the year. I think I emailed that around to all of you for this grant
Yeah.
that they just extended it to December 31st. So that's helpful. But if we want to do this before the end of the year, we should move on it regardless. So let's see where we are in a month. Um, let's see. If you'll bear with me one moment, one thing we need to talk about is the reels, the spare reels. We had talked about this last time about instituting a policy to get rid of them as surplus materials. And so we voted on the policy for that. And just as a reminder, when we have equipment or materials that we no longer need and the value is less than 10 grand, we can donate those items instead of selling them. And who we can donate to is another MLP or any nonprofit or charitable organization. And so the first thing we have to do is estimate the value of the items, and then discuss the proposed donation at a public board meeting. We've already done that part. We've already discussed this. And then take a vote. A majority of the board, with a quorum present, has to approve of like, okay, yes, we are going to donate this less than $10,000 group of surplus materials. And if you don't approve the donation, then we just sell or dispose of the items following state law, such as through bids, auction, or resale markets. So what I did, the hardest part of this was like trying to figure out how do we figure out the value of these reels that have been sitting behind the shed rotting on their the fibers are rotting, but their wheels are rotting of all these various lengths of different fiber, different strand values. And so I asked Lee to give me the current price of a 216 fiber uh, per foot price because this is the biggest fiber, right? The one with the most strands in it. Give me the price for the most of it. And he said that, well, Corning doesn't make these anymore, the ones that we have. So he said, but Gray Bar does, and they're charging $4.16 a foot for 216 strand fiber. And that's for brand new. So the way here, let me share my screen so you can see my calculation and see if this makes sense. So I'll make this bigger. Oh, too big. So I estimated that, okay, so let's just say that after 7 years of sitting there, random lengths, that it's the value of these is reduced by half. It seems reasonable to me that there's no way that you could sell this for more than 50% of its value. So adding up all of the feet, just under 4,000 feet, here's the strand counts, and you'll see that this is the only one that actually reaches that 216. But again, I'm taking the most price that it could be. And if you do that, just under 4,000 feet times $2 a foot, we come out with $7,912. So there
So
is, yeah, go ahead.
I was just so it looks to me like even brand new, this stash of cable we've got is barely worth over $10,000.
Yeah, it'd be worth about 16,000.
Yeah.
If that, I mean,
But since
yeah.
you priced the price you got was for the largest strand number, I would assume, a smaller, a you know, a yeah, a 30 strand cable is not going to cost as much per foot as a 216
Right.
new. So therefore, it would be less than the 16,000 new. So it might not be much over 10,000,
Even brand new.
even
Yeah.
brand new. Yeah.
Yeah. But do you think this is a reasonable estimate that there's no way our fiber is worth over 10 grand?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally reasonable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the one thing I am holding back, you'll see my little note here, is that our largest strand is the less amount of fiber. So we have a 6,000 feet of 12 strand fiber. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this one back in case that Macedonia Road installation goes forward. We can apply this surplus material to that to keep the cost down, or to, any kind of drop situations that where this could be reused for that. Um, so other than that, I would
So
love
that's
to.
that reel is not on your spreadsheet here.
It
That's
is correct. It's not in
yeah.
these
Okay.
calculations. It's
Yeah.
down here. Yeah.
Okay.
Good idea. Yeah.
Yep.
How big was that spool again?
Yeah, just over 6,000 feet of
Uh,
12 strand fiber.
okay, so, right.
You could probably just attach the spreadsheet to the minutes there, Jim.
Oh yeah, Jim, why don't let me send this to you so we just have an official record if anyone ever questions us about how did you
Okay,
calculate the values. Um,
sounds good.
I'll
Yep.
I'll send the spreadsheet
Okay.
to Jim.
And you may have said this, but the footage you did, that's actual footage or the nominal footage for a full reel or
Oh, this is the actual footage of what we have.
okay, great.
So
Good.
yeah,
These
this
were
is.
all leftovers. They were all
Yep,
just
yep.
leftovers from the.
And they kept track of what they used so they know what's left. Got it.
Yeah, and Graham so wonderfully
They have
you made me
footage
a list.
marks.
Yeah.
They have footage marks on the cable, so you can see what's.
Oh,
Yeah. You
cool.
have to do the math. Yeah, yeah,
That's fine. Cool.
yeah.
Lee did say that he may need the highway department's help to get them out of there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're
Yeah.
gonna have to bring stuff. So I'll work that out with Dave in the highway department. And yeah, I'm sure they'll well, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that they'll be happy to help to get that room back. Get
There you
that,
go.
yeah, to get that storage space back. Um, so if all this looks good, then we've done step 1 and 2, where we've estimated the value of the items. We've discussed the proposed donation in public. And now the third one is to take a vote to donate the surplus fiber to South Hadley Electric. So if one of you can make a motion to do that, and we'll vote on it and make it official.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second,
Second.
Great. All in favor of donating this surplus fiber to South Hadley Electric? Jim,
aye.
Graham,
Aye.
and Steve.
Aye.
Excellent.
And you don't need to put it in the motion, but if they don't want it all, then they can take whatever they want without,
Let me just mute.
Yeah.
without, yeah. If they don't want it all, then that's still, we're ahead.
Yeah, well, honestly, what I'm gonna do, Graham, is I'm gonna say, can you please take it all? So that we don't have to worry about the disposal, kind of like as a trade-off. You take it
Okay.
all, you get rid of anything you don't want. But we
Okay.
really, don't want to store this
Yeah.
anymore.
They might look at it and say it's all junk. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess that's an answer too. If they really do say it's junk, then step
Yeah.
2 is that we'll have to get rid of it, right? And again, I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
I guess I'll work with the highway department on that. I'm sure they know how to get rid of industrial garbage like this, but I'm really hoping that Shell will just take it away. They'll dispose of anything that is not usable and we can move on.
But
Now,
Lee came out and looked at it, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you may not be able to see much because it grew in as a jungle once before, and I haven't cleared that jungle in a couple of years. But yeah, he could have seen a few of them maybe.
All right. I'm just looking at my notes here. Um, oh, uh, matter of procedure that we need to do if you want to do it is reappoint me as the MLP manager. We need to do this every fiscal year. And it has to land in the minutes. We usually do it in April, and I just realized that we didn't do it. So if you would
So
like,
moved.
thank you,
I
thank
would move
you.
that Gail be
second,
reappointed.
All right, thank you. And all in favor, Jim
Aye.
and Graham
Aye.
and Steve.
aye.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so we've taken care of that and we've talked about routers. I did send a welcome email to Andy Regan, the new board member, earlier this week, and I mentioned that I had asked him if he wanted to, take on the hut responsibilities. I also sent him a copy of our broadband manual that we have. And I was so happy to have that. I mean, I know that we've been keeping that as a matter of continuity to keep track of all our like institutional knowledge in one place and operations, and this is how it works. But how nice to be able to just like hand that over to somebody new and say, here it all is, as like just an onboarding document, as well as a document for any of you should something happen to me that we just have something that is an overview of the entire organization. So anyway, it's doing its first run through of its usefulness. I also asked Andy of like, Andy, just pretend as you read through this, let's say that you had to take over for the MLP, knowing absolutely nothing about it. Can you tell me what's missing from this? Because he's going to be the only fresh pair of eyes that has ever seen it, outside of our committee. So I'm hoping to get some good information from him, about how else we need to improve that document to be like a really true living, representation of all our policies and procedures and us as a whole of how we operate.
That's good. And
Um,
just to mention, while on the subject of Andy, for anyone who wasn't at the town meeting or hasn't gone to look at the record, Gail said lovely words of send off from me, of appreciation. So that was nice to. And I thanked you before, Gail, but thanks again. That was nice.
you're
Uh,
welcome. You're welcome. I don't think that we get to, just publicly express gratitude enough for for everybody, and all of you have been doing this for so long, and yeah, just really, really appreciate it. And yeah, so Graham, we have one or two more meetings with you. Just
Probably through June, right?
yeah,
To the
right.
end,
Oh yeah,
to the
June
beginning of
June June
July.
30th. June 30th.
Yeah,
So
May, June.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna yeah, I'll make sure that Andy makes it to the next meeting with you so that we have, one meeting of overlap, and then release you into retirement from the board. And um yeah, also I asked Andy if this 5 p.m. meeting works for him. He does have young kids, so uh I said we'd be open to moving the time, if he needs that. And I have some flexibility during the daytimes and evenings, so we'll figure that out. But for now, we'll just continue our third Wednesdays.
Gail,
Yes,
is Andy's last name spelt with EA or
yes, it's
EG,
Eagan,
like the
Regan.
president?
Yep,
Okay.
right. It's spelled Reagan, but said Regan. At least I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I've seen it both ways. I wasn't quite sure
Hmm.
which one was proper.
All right, so this meeting is going very quickly. The last thing that I have is to discuss our non-traditional installation policy that I sent around over email earlier. So I'll pull that up um, on the screen. But does anybody else have any other items that we need to talk about besides that tonight?
I could offer a little area telecommunications update. It's it's just a little aside, but
Okay.
um, the cell tower on off of Buffum Road in Pelham, that this is the one that AT&T built over 10 years ago, never equipped, and it sat there unused for a long time. And finally, a couple of years ago, T-Mobile put an antenna on it. Gail, that was when it's fairly near me, and that's when I had you swing by and shoot your cell
Oh
service. You're
yeah,
using
yeah.
T-Mobile to see what sort of signal strength there was for the T-Mobile. Recently driving up North Valley Road and Buffum Road, I saw Verizon trucks out. First, I thought they were just like changing cable over to Eversource's new poles. And no, that's not that what they're doing here. They're stringing new fiber optic cable. Wonder what that's
Really?
about. And then and when it turned up onto Buffum Road and they're heading fiber up that way, I thought, this is really curious. And I thought, aha, I wonder. And when I got up to where I had sight to the cell tower, sure enough, there's a second tier of antennas on that tower. So I would say I've been meaning to hike out to the tower and look at it, but my guess is Verizon is going on to that tower.
I
So
think that's a pretty solid bet. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, so so
just so you know, Verizon strung all the fiber to the Lake Wyola cell tower, and they're still not on the thing. So the Verizon definitely does the fiber to the pole to the tower on this side of town. So they may not, and I think I mentioned last month there's a second tier of antenna on the Lake Wyola uh, tower now too. So definitely there are carriers who are expanding into our area.
interesting.
we
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think the strategy could be that they string the fiber up and then just kind of like wait until there's fiber to two towers to light them both up? Or I mean,
I
it's
think
all
it's
complete
just
speculation, but
I think fiber on the roads, it's easier for the people who own the cell tower are a cell tower company, and their easiest way to get fiber to anything in town is to ask Verizon to run it from some point where Verizon has fiber. So I think we sort of slightly talked about the possibility that the Shutesbury could provide fiber to the cell tower, but that would be so irregular for the cell tower company that they wouldn't want to go there, I don't think.
right,
I'm
right.
sure
If
it
they,
never
yeah.
would have occurred. I assume it would never have occurred to them. They
Yeah,
have no idea who Shutesbury Net is. So
through that.
Yeah, I'm
This
sure.
came up this came up years ago with respect to Wired West, and the big providers don't want to be on somebody else's fiber. They want to be on their fiber. That's
Makes
just
sense.
a general rule.
Yeah, Graham, do we know who T-Mobile is served by for the Lake Wyola Tower? And like
Um,
who they
yeah,
who
I suspect AT&T. Um, I mean, sorry. Um, T-Mobile has their own um, meter there, yeah, and their own antenna now. So I take that back. Uh, initially they might have had some arrangement with someone else, but yeah, who was their server on the Lake Wyola Tower? It's them.
right,
But
but
they get their
no fiber?
they they use their well, um, they they probably lease some fiber from Verizon because Verizon is the only ones who ran fiber to that location.
I
Just on
see,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about this non-conventional installation policy as some background. So there is a customer on Macedonia Road that is landlocked by public MDC land, and they expressed interest in wanting to get a broadband installation, and it's nearly a half mile off the, when we call it a main road, I mean a dirt road, but one that we do have fiber on. And the question is, um, can we serve them? Um, this would be one of the installations that could fall under our grant policy for an install. Um, but because it's non-conventional and the property does not have electric service beyond solar panels, it's not the type of thing we normally do. They do have landline service by Verizon, but that currently is just laying on the forest floor, going through the woods. So some of the questions that we need to answer as a group are, do we want to even consider serving non-conventional places like this? And if we do, how do we do it in such a way that is aligned with our mission of providing service to everyone we can and protecting the interests of the MLP and making it fair to all other subscribers who have a more traditional installation where the maintenance costs are going to be a lot lower if something goes wrong. So serving everybody and limiting our liability. And also, do we even want to do this? One of the things that we all could decide is that it's too big of a risk, and we just can't take that on. Um, so those are all questions that are up for debate here. If we do serve them, I do feel strongly that we need to have a special policy for this kind of installation to, again, limit our liability. If it's not installed in like kind of up to spec, because this won't be. It is cost prohibitive to do it in the way that is the right and correct way of doing utility poles and stringing conduit. It's $20,000 to $30,000. So it's just simply out of reach. Um, the way that this particular installation would happen would be to follow the line of the current telecom, laying a fiber on the ground um, through the woods, and then at the end tacking up to some trees. I am still waiting for Shell to get me an actual estimate of this, of, okay, let's say we do this and we run it from that last utility pole over the river and through the woods, and then up on a few trees right at the end to get this house service. If we do that, how much is that going to cost to be installed? if we also use that surplus reel of fiber that we have to do it. So that is
Um,
what we're debating. Yes.
yeah, I would say the the thought of I used to because I knew the director for Temenos. For many years, I repaired their phone cable, which lay across the ground for thousands and thousands of feet, and found places where animals had trod on the cable. Sometimes, voles or whatever had put their teeth through the cable. And this was just phone cable, which is very easy to repair. Yeah, so it's copper.
Hmm.
Um, the thought of having fiber laying on the ground is nightmarish to me. The very way that institutional utility type organizations protect themselves from just the perils of having to maintain bad infrastructure or poorly installed infrastructure is by having, what they call standards, and that is what you were alluding to, that the standards have to be, that it is done properly. Because otherwise, you can guarantee that you can hardly protect yourself from someone complaining that it's always broken. Because that's the risk that you'll sort of that a utility then would run. I would say that going through woods that requiring them to be buried in some 24-inch below the ground PVC. Better
Is
than what came up our driveways, which was probably only 12 and 18 inches below the driveways, because of that machine limitations. But that's a much smaller exposure in a short driveway. If you're in the woods, then it's probably dig a trench, drop conduit in. It's expensive,
no,
and
that's not going to.
Craig, you disagreeing or
Yeah, no, I'm saying that I don't think anyone's going to want to pay for that.
yeah, right, yeah. So, but we don't want to. I don't think we can protect ourselves from the repair thing. I mean, I suppose the deductible is not a bad. Yeah, when you got to that in the proposed thing, Gail, where you wrote a deductible of $1,000 a year, uh, that's probably not a bad thing again for everybody. Having some deductible. Uh, just I don't know. Just it's a for some catastrophic failure, I can't imagine. But it's a deductible might be the way to. I don't know. I hate to put stuff on the ground because it'll fail, and
Is
it'll be a
Yeah.
pain in the butt.
is the nearest served home, is that on like Old Boston Road or something like BZ and what's his name, Eric, or
This is further down the road than that.
further down the
But
road than
see,
that?
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
cable runs by their house on the road. I mean,
yeah.
by their property on the road. So it's not an issue of getting it our network to them, but it's just that the house is so far back from the road and with
Right.
no utility poles, service poles
Hmm.
running up
So
How
there.
far,
what
Jim?
if we said what if we said we'll deliver service to the road and we'll have a box of some kind, and then after that you can run what you want. We don't guarantee anything past that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm attempting to do with this policy is to change the demarcation point for a non-conventional install like this of we'll do it and you have to take the responsibility of it beyond that that point. I think the challenge is that if all we would do in we'll say a more normal situation is like we put an ONT on the pole and
Hmm.
say, it's like everybody else. The ONT is a demarcation. This long half mile is yours. But the problem with that is we have no way to power that ONT.
Yeah.
And then the run from the ONT to the home, my understanding is that that would have to be done with like um an Ethernet cable, which makes
Yeah.
it
Melt
susceptible
it.
to um, lightning strikes.
Mhm.
And yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Ethernet cable is a limit of 330 feet, so
Right.
you can't,
Right.
So not bad. Okay.
not that.
So
The second thing is you cannot put this stuff on the ground. The porcupines will chew it will chew it up. It's got to be buried. So whatever the solution is, burial is, I'm afraid, the only way it's going to be at least minimally required. I know this residence well, as you all know. And I know the problems that they've had just with phone cable over the years of being chewed and trees falling on it and one thing or another. And I think the only solution is to bury it. And I thought that there was somebody who had a machine that could actually dig a trench very efficiently and rather inexpensively. And when I mentioned this a while ago, and I don't know whether anyone's followed up on that or not, but there is someone who could. I mean, I don't remember all the details of what I might have said back then, but there was someone. If Shell just goes out and hires someone to do it, it's going to be very expensive. But there
yeah.
was an alternative to this, and the alternative looked very promising. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
I'll
got it.
be
Got it. Yeah.
yeah, I'll be surprised. I mean, you're going to be cutting through tree roots, and I mean,
Yeah,
it's not trivial.
stones.
And
Uh,
stones, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, if we could get this to a traditional installation of putting a conduit, in ground, then we could do this without a non-conventional installation policy, right? It would just like,
Mhm.
no, you've you've been installed. We love
yeah,
underground drops.
Yeah.
They're wonderful, even a long one like this.
yep, that'd be good.
So yeah. So
Yeah,
Steve,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, we've talked about this premises for years, and
hmm
it's always been this outlier. And when we say, we provide premises service to 100% of the town, is offered to 100% of the residents, so there should be a little asterisk. Well, n minus one here. Um, but I had thought with the grant there was something here that was providing funds finally to overcome the high cost, to pay part of the high cost of installation to this property. And so that's why this has all come up again, is being discussed now, and then the policy and so forth. So is that not anything? Is the grant not covering any or enough of this to be feasible?
the grant can absolutely cover it, but it's a limit of 5 grand.
Okay. So,
So, so for per installation.
okay.
So that's the sticking point of
Hmm.
and that there's no yeah, if Shell does this, it's going to be between 20 and 30,000.
Okay.
So
I,
I think kind of what I'm hearing here is that this really needs to be done to spec because otherwise it leads to too many repair issues and opens us up to all sorts of liability issues if it's not done correctly.
Absolutely.
And we can't do a demarcation point at the pole because it's just too long and we have no way to power the electronics that would live on that pole without all sorts of other things of like tapping, putting in getting electricity out there. So the
can
only
I
other
just,
way is to dig this. Yeah, go ahead,
can I,
Steve.
yeah. Um, okay. So underground conduit is just cost prohibitive. Eh, do we know what it costs to put in? Are poles feasible? And or stringing to trees? I mean, a telephone
Stringing to
pole.
trees is bad. Don't
Yeah,
string to trees.
yeah.
I mean, a telephone pole used to be a tree.
Yeah,
It,
it's not the tree so much. It's the fact that it's going through deep woods with all sorts of branches falling on,
Yeah.
on it. That's really the problem. It's not that putting it on a tree per se, it's really the location of putting it through deep woods. My
Mm,
understanding is that they used to have service of their Verizon telephone line up on the trees. They took it down because it got broke so many times
ah,
from other falling branches
okay.
and like
just,
just it did not work. So
yeah.
we already test case of like, can you just use the trees as poles?
Yeah.
And you
Okay.
can't because you can't run it through the deep woods. There's too much just stuff
E
happening all the
even
time of things
if
falling.
a support cable, would consider running a support cable and lashing it to
Yeah.
that. Mm.
It must not
Um,
work. It must not work on trees because no one does it anywhere on trees that
So,
I've ever heard of.
so if you think about being out in the woods, trees sway back and forth in the wind
Oh,
all the
yes.
time.
Good
Telephone
point.
poles, telephone poles do not.
Because they don't have the branches with leaves still attached.
Exactly,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So if
Such
we
a good
cut
idea taking the leaves off.
so if we cut the trees,
if we limb them all, we just take
limb
off all
them
the
and
limbs.
top them
Okay.
and leave a 20-foot stub
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Okay.
Getting
Okay.
that'll work.
getting back to the idea of just delivering service to the road. We can do that and say it's up to you to figure everything else out, including one option might be they put a solar panel with a battery backup at the ONT to power that.
Hmm.
But that would be on them, not on us. And
And then,
everything after that point, if there's any troubles, we are not responsible.
Right. Tell me about what that looks like, bringing service from the pole to the house a half mile through the woods of, the Ethernet cable doesn't work. So would they,
So
what else
they would do
would they,
fiber. They would do
I
fiber.
see.
So you would just have some kind of repeater and the
Okay.
fiber goes out there. But we would have a testable thing at that box that says, well, except that we wouldn't be powering it, they would. Anyway, that we could say, yep, you've got service to here, you're on your own after that.
Yeah, so
Could that be
does
done with a NID at the pole? I mean, you'd have to go there to test for service. You couldn't do it remote. I don't think you could do it remotely, but you would know that there is service to the pole if you had a NID there.
Yeah.
I
You,
don't think
you would
so.
know in a very tedious manner, Steve.
Yeah,
You
I
would
think
know
you'd have to have, I
by
think you'd have to have
shooting
an
it.
ONT.
Yeah,
Yep.
because the only way you can, without an active device, without a powered device, then you just have to depend on bouncing a signal along the length and dividing by two, and that's how they troubleshoot broken fiber on roads. But it's a pain in the butt for them. I mean, it's not like they can't just look at their screen and say whether it's working or not. They have to put on a special piece of equipment to shoot
Mm.
to OTDR, an optical
But
reflection meter.
if somebody actually went to the pole, could they plug into the NID and determine that there was service?
Oh, they could totally do that, but
Yeah.
that's quite there's a call out for that, isn't there?
Well,
Right.
that's what I was going to have you do in your retirement, Graham.
Yeah. No, no, the other problem with anything like this is at the institutional or the utility level is just that something that is different to everywhere else ends up being, a real pain in the
More
butt as well,
expensive.
because
Yeah.
you've got
Sure,
to
sure,
Yeah.
you've
sure.
got to remember this special thing.
Mm.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think what I'm hearing is that the two options are that we do an ONT at the pole so
Yeah.
that it can match up with the rest of our installations of that demarcation point, and then everything beyond that is on the customer to install. Or
And
that,
maintain.
yeah, and maintain,
Yeah.
or we we'll treat this like any other traditional installation. If the homeowner can get the trenching done and do a proper conduit that we can run through.
Yeah.
Sure.
And um, so
Well, and
um,
and the trenching has to be done to spec. If
yeah.
it's a foot down, do we, or if it's 6 inches down, do we say we go for it or not?
No, not to spec. No, definitely
Right.
not.
So they would
No.
have to do a trench, and the trench would have to be the industry standard.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can spell it out for them, I guess.
It's probably 24 inches, but it might be 18 inches. But it's yeah,
Wait, wait,
it's a
wait.
horrible trench.
Mm.
I watched Shell install their fiber in using the trenching machine, and there's no way it goes down 24 inches. I mean, I watched them down my entire driveway, and I would say it averaged maybe 6 to 8 inches.
Mm.
And it wasn't because they couldn't go any, deeper, but that's what the trenching machine did. And it doesn't, so I think, 24 inches down I don't think there's much fiber in Shutesbury that is actually buried that deeply, if it's buried at all. So, yeah,
My fiber's pretty deep, I think. I mean, my
well,
conduit.
Well, mine certainly isn't, and they just ran it down the driveway, and fired up that machine, and I mean, I was there during the installation, and I know that machine isn't capable of putting fiber down 24 inches in the ground. It's just not possible.
Yeah,
It, it, it
Jim is right about this. We did several, well, actually, most of our underground installations where there wasn't an existing conduit were micro trenched.
Mike,
And so that puts it was like drop fiber that came in its own conduit, and
yeah,
they put it in maybe 12 inches. And the installers complained about the rocky soil and how hard that was. And they just kind of, in a lot of cases, did their best and tried to get it down at least 6 inches. They're supposed to get it down 12, but so we
It's
do
less of
have
a
a lot
it's
that's
less of
not.
a risk. It's less of a risk on a few hundred feet of a
And
driveway for
I
for us.
well, my
just
driveway is
something,
1,400 feet long, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, Gail has
Yeah.
described it
No.
exactly. And
No. No.
I'm just saying that if that is the method that's used for installation, that's going to be the result, about 6 to 12 inches on average.
No.
let me, Craig, your conduit installation, I assume the telecommunications conduit was installed when your house was built,
That is
when the electrical cable is also being put in.
that
The
is
electrical
correct. You
cable
you
code requires it to be 24 inches deep. As long as
you
they're
are
in that 2 foot trench, they put them all in there. But we're talking about just
you are
putting
correct.
in just a telecommunications
Yep. No. No. You are correct. You are
conduit.
correct.
Yeah, so we do have a policy well, it's a spec sheet for new installations where a new house goes up, and the spec sheet says what the conduits have to be, and it's the 24 inches because it's for all their underground utilities. I don't we have not, is this true? Well, I can't remember if we've had any trench or underground installs that were new that was not new construction. So
Mm.
meeting the beefed up electrical specs, um, and just for telecom. Um, I can't remember anything that had like I can't remember ever sent like needing to send out an underground digging crew or a vibratory plow for anything since those initial installs.
And at the new library, they just put in a 4 inch conduit with the
Right. It was
electrical.
so
Uh,
robust.
it was yeah right. I kind of like and a spare as well, two four
Yeah,
inches. Yeah, so I told them to save $10,000, but they didn't.
they did do it.
It's the same as we did for the hut.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
the electrical for the hut came over from the town hall, but the fiber lines ran in from the pole at the road, and they put in the two 4-inch conduits
Yeah.
buried deep down the town hall driveway.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Would a let's say, and I think one of the challenges here is that let's say we did have access to a vibratory plow that could put in this, a conduit down. It's not moving through like a driveway, like on the edge of a driveway. It's moving through deep woods.
Right.
Mm.
And I think that is going to be the real problem with all the roots in the rocks.
Yeah.
well, Jim, you're familiar with this property. Is there any, I mean, they've got a driveway coming in somewhere.
Yeah.
Could it follow their driveway instead of this route through the woods?
Well, I wouldn't go through the woods just because of how much trouble that would be. I'd just go right down the driveway, put it right down the center of the driveway. And that driveway's been there. I mean, Macedonia Road has been there for for hundreds of years. And that is the land and the dirt and the ground itself is pretty gravelly because it's not up high, it's down low where the river used to wash a lot of the dirt around one thing or another. So it may not be that difficult. On my driveway, when they're running on my driveway, we ran into some huge rocks, and I had my tractor there with the forks, and I was lifting big rocks, just sort of transporting them away so that they could make progress. But I don't think Macedonia Road would present the same problem. I
Okay.
think there's a
A
lot
lot
more
further.
gravel.
Is it a
Well,
lot further going that way? It's a good idea going down the driveway, but
Yeah.
does it double the length or is it just
No, no,
incidentally
no.
increase?
It's the straightest possible run actually going down the driveway.
Then
Yeah.
that's
and
way to go.
does it land you near the pole?
Yes, there's a pole actually. The Macedonia Road splits and forks a little bit in from the road, and predominantly they've been using the fork that's to the east, but there's a fork to the west, which is part of the road, and there's a phone pole that is right by the road on the next to the West Fork.
Right.
And that's the route that I'm sure that Sheld would rather take, to begin the run back along Macedonia Road.
So,
Yeah.
so in summary here, we are not going to pay for the install on the road regardless, I think. Um, if we tell them you want to install it, as long as you use a licensed installer who sticks to some whatever spec Shell
Mhm.
thinks is appropriate. If you do all of that, then we'll cover it, I guess. We'll
Yeah,
do
so there's
the
never
service.
never were we going to cover this whole thing.
Right.
Right. So the
I
only
mean,
way
I mean, we'll cover the service is what I meant. Sorry,
yeah,
the
okay, I see.
service
I see. Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of the installation, it's
installations on them.
yeah, the installation's on them and or grant.
Right.
Um
And it
So,
but
has to be a licensed installer. It can't be some guy with a tool that he made up out of,
yeah.
whatever.
Well, well, I would say it could be some guy with a something as long as it meets our specs.
Yeah,
Or as long as it meets the specs, as we have to allow that because we already allow that for everybody else. Of
yeah.
you can install the conduit any way you see fit. You can shovel it out. You can lay it by
I see.
hand.
Okay.
As long as it meets as long as it meets the spec, we don't care who does it. It doesn't even have to, any
How,
homeowner can do this.
given the length and complexity of this, how do we know if it meets our specs?
Well, because we would, it's probably already in the original thing that we have the right of inspecting, the requirement of actually inspecting it as the MLP. So
But
we have to.
these micro trenches, don't they sort of backfill right afterwards? So we would never know how deep it was after the fact.
They do.
You can watch them.
Yeah, yeah. So the for the we'll call them like like the electrical installs, what we require is the a new home that's being built calls us up and says, we've installed the conduit. Graham's been the main person who's done this. I think I've done one of them. They have to call us ahead of time. We go and we inspect the trench that they've made. We
Okay.
look at the conduit and we say, good, and they get a sign off on it.
Okay.
And then we give that. So we do have this process, but you are correct. We do not have anything for a micro trench that's not the full electrical specs.
Sure. 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 Sure.
So that's something that we'd have to work out with them of the installer would maybe have to sign something, or we'd have to go and inspect it at some point to
This
say, yes, this meets
this is why I
the,
say a licensed or bonded installer, because
yeah,
if it turns out the install was bad, then they eat the cost. We don't.
yeah, there you go.
So
Yeah,
we have,
and you could look it up, but I wouldn't call it a micro fiber installation because that's where they saw cut concrete and really like half-inch wide or a quarter
Mhm.
inch wide, and they really do drop something in that's a micro thing. This is what we had going up our driveways was fiber in a duct that the machine laid in there. So probably we don't want to be calling it micro ducting because I think
Okay.
that's a special product.
Whatever Sheld wants to
Yeah,
call
yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Well, Shell's equipment, using the trenching machine, the conduit is a flexible half-inch diameter conduit. That's what they use everywhere.
Right.
And
Yeah, yeah.
that seemed, but it's not, again, it's not down to 18 to 24 inches. It's more like 6 to 12, depending on all kinds of vagaries at the time. And that I think can be done on Macedonia Road. Um,
Yeah. How about this? I think what we need to know is from the professionals like Sheld, I need to get the specs from them of when it's a non-electrical kind of like I don't know what to call it, but the robust installation. What are the specs for the shallow dig half-inch conduit installation that gets put in with a vibratory plow? What is the spec for that? And once we know that, I think that we can know more about um, how much this is going to cost for the homeowner, just hand that over to them and say, this is what we need to see in order to install on this driveway.
well,
Hmm.
they should be able to, they should be able to comment on that because they used the trenching machine, which the name of which I have forgotten, but it's a
Mhm.
sort of a catchy name. And they use it
Ditch witch.
Ditch witch. It was a ditch
yeah,
witch.
ditch witch.
okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ditch witch.
And they use that everywhere. They use it on my neighbor's land, just to go from the pole to the home. They constantly use that machine
Sure.
to bury a flexible and very, very good, strong looking fiber cable. And I don't mean fiber cable, but
In the
a
duct,
very
yeah.
strong. Yeah, they used that everywhere when they were doing all those installations way back when. I was watching them very closely. So
Yeah.
this would be just, it wouldn't be abnormal for them to do it here
Yeah.
on
Wouldn't be abnormal.
Macedonia.
Yeah.
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 So on the installation, getting back the installation cost, so we potentially have $5,000 to put towards this from the grant, but things have got to move along now to utilize this. Is the deadline on that also extended to the end of the calendar year?
Yep.
But of course, you don't want to be doing that sort of work in after the ground's frozen. So
No,
No, no,
no.
so you need
we
to, this would need to
October.
move forward to utilize the grant money. Do we want to put up any other funds as we would do for other installations?
Yeah, I think in this case that our standard, if we decide to just call this a standard install, that our regular $700 subsidy would still apply. And I don't see any reason why any homeowner wouldn't be able to double up, so to speak, of like you can use up to $5,000 of grant money, plus on top of that, the Shutesbury subsidy to get closer to an install.
So it seems like we potentially have $5,700 to put towards the install, and if it's done as an industry standard install, then we don't need the non-conventional policy wouldn't apply.
Correct. And I think I've been convinced that we need to not do this, even though Sheld said, well, we could do it, because just laying fiber on the ground is such a poor practice and is not worth the trouble and the maintenance costs, no matter who's covering them.
Yeah.
You know, even if this is going to get us out of covering it, it just sounds like there's a lot of other things to consider in terms of tracking this, having a non-conventional installation just floating out there in the world for forever and ever, tracking deductibles. I'm just kind of seeing the light of this as like, all right, Gail, I don't think this is the right solution.
Yeah, I agree.
Burial is the only solution, and burial right up that very, very straight road is, I mean, it's the obvious thing to do.
Okay.
I don't think going through the woods would be. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a love-hate mostly a hate relationship with porcupines, but I know what they are able to chew through, and the damage that they can do is just phenomenal. And putting a fiber cable through the woods or lying it on the ground is just a surefire recipe for disaster. So we have to stay away and tacking it to trees, as Craig pointed out, and others is not really viable either. So I think the only solution is run that ditch witch right down right down Macedonia Road, and like they've done elsewhere, it's just a lengthier run than they normally would do, but certainly one that they could easily wind up doing.
Okay, great. All right,
So
so
we, of
next.
course, would not, I assume, not be using our existing old fiber cable.
Oh, good question. I don't know. Graham, any idea? Could we
I think it'd
get a
be
12 a
cheaper and
12 strand
better.
fiber through there?
I
Through
think
through a conduit?
I think the standard install up a driveway would be two fibers, and that would be cheapest and cheaper than using what we now know is old fiber that's, it's got a shorter life left in it. Yeah. So I would say, less than 50 cents, probably 50 cents a foot or something for whatever it is that they pull into inner duct. And as Jim was saying, it's already in the inner duct, so it's just laying it in the ground
Yeah.
along a driveway.
Yeah. Okay, so just use the shallow conduit with the fiber pre-inserted into it.
Yeah, the standard product, yeah, comes on
Okay.
reels.
Okay. I'm gonna find out the specs on this. And um get two numbers here. One is that I'm going to go back to Sheld and say, okay, just what if we ran it down the just ran it down the driveway. And then Jim, I'm going to talk to you offline about having the homeowner, and maybe you can help them
Mhm.
just get a ballpark quote for somebody else to do this and install the half-inch shallow conduit to whatever specs I find out. Just to see what we're working with. All right.
Anyone like Certex, or I think, did Certex do the Ditch Witch stuff in our town, could give you a price per foot. So if they don't need to, if they're going along a driveway, um,
Yeah. I mean,
then they could just quote it.
it will, and it'll also probably wind up being a lot less expensive than initially the estimates have been. I mean, my driveway, I think the estimate to do my driveway, my installation was $17,000, which seemed absolutely prohibitive way back when. And they brought the ditch witch out there, and in a morning they were able to run from the top of the driveway to the bottom of the driveway, just chugging that machine right along. And I was amazed at how effective it was. It just kind of crunched its way, steadily right down the driveway without any hassle whatsoever. And it was a sort of a piece of cake of an installation. So I think the ditch witch solution is the best possible, and we could offer.
All right. Well, let's see what we can do for that and move towards it and get more information about costs and specs, and I'll keep working on it.
All right.
And do they have any electricity in the house, Jim?
Well, they have solar panels that provide power,
Okay. All right. So they've got power.
and they run lights and various things off of
Okay.
it. And as we all know,
Yeah.
ONTs don't consume a whole lot of power.
Yeah. Only need
So
12 volts.
yeah, 12 volts is
Yeah.
all you need. So there
10,
won't be
10
any trouble.
watts. Yeah.
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 So it wouldn't be a
Okay.
problem keeping the
Yep.
ONT lit up at all times.
Yep.
Yep.
Gail,
Steve?
one more question. Just rolling back to the beginning of our talk of this evening, you'd said there was a cost out there for an estimate of conduit at like $25,000-$30,000. Was that for putting traditional conduit that with an excavator down 2 feet and full-size conduit?
I believe that was trying to do the ditch witch through the woods.
Ah, okay,
So,
okay.
and it because all of those underground installs were the estimates for them were made through that,
Okay.
or like for that method. And like Jim said, a lot of them were overestimated
Yeah.
because they never knew what they were going to encounter, and sometimes a small installation took a full day because you'd hit a huge boulder, you'd have to go around it, whatever. Um, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Um, that is it for my list today. Anything else? Nope.
Motion
All
to
right.
adjourn.
Second.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's do it.
Okay.
Jim, right after this, I will send you the real estimates.
Okay, yes, because I'm gonna, as always, I work on the notes right after the meeting ends. So
Yep. Yep. All right, I'll send those to you right away. And yeah, I think that's it. Our next meeting is, let's see, what is the third? It's the 17th of June. And let's see. If you'll bear with me one moment, I just want to check my calendar. I think I might be away for that time period.
I've got to sign off, guys.
Okay.
I'll just
Okay.
look for your
Bye-bye.
emails.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Bye, Craig. Thanks for coming.
right.
Uh,
Okay. It looks like I have back-to-back family reunions.
Oh, well, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so
you can invite them to the Zoom.
right. Oh, you'll love them. It would be fun. So what if we delayed 2 weeks and met on July 1st instead?
Sounds fine.
Does that work for all of you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Something is jumping out at me about that date, but I looked at my calendar. I don't have anything written down. So,
All right, let's do a tentative on that date. There's other dates that week that could also work. And that'll also be a nice wrap up because that'll be the very end of the fiscal year. And so we can say goodbye to Graham and welcome Andy in. So let's go with July 1st. Steve or anybody, let me know if that doesn't work and we'll rearrange.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Enjoy this
Okay.
beautiful weather.
Uh,
Stay cool.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you too.
Right.
Good night,
Great.
everyone.
Good night.
Night.